I will never ever forget the summer of 1984 when I visited Mexico for the very first time. It was the discovery of a new culture and a whole new world for me. My friend Kevin and his friend Liz and my girlfriend Dawn and I drove all the way from Central Florida around the Gulf of Mexico and south of the border. That first trip was only for 2 weeks, but we packed so much adventure into those weeks, they will be forever graven into my memory. Perhaps the fact that I was exploring and discovering something brand new to me made it so special and unforgettable. The sights, the smells, the sounds, the people, the language, the food, the landscape. I was enthralled at every turn. About halfway into my adventure, my beautiful girlfriend who was hosting us suggested we go visit the Huasteca Canyon in the northern Sierra Madre Mountains, right on the edge of the city of Monterrey in Santa Catarina. I loved mountains and exploring, and so we grabbed a length of rope, just in case, and hopped in the old VW van and headed toward the canyon a little over an hour away. I was not prepared for what I saw as we drove down a long dusty dirt road into the canyon. Immense limestone walls towering into the sky, gigantic slabs of strata, some horizontal, some diagonal, and some completely vertical, creating otherworldly geological formations. As we drove deeper into the canyon, my sight was drawn to an old house, half carved and half constructed into the top of one of the limestone walls, maybe 100 feet or so high. Dawn told me that was the house of Dr. Pequeño, and there was a steep trail around the backside to get up to it. Of course, we had to climb up and explore. It was apparently built there many decades ago, but later abandoned. It is still there to this day. After that, we went deeper into the canyon when the most majestic and enormous spire of limestone strata reached vertically toward the heavens. It looked like a natural, yet surreal cathedral for giants. I stared at it with my mouth open, and it took my breath away. The most intriguing feature of this massive monolith were 2 huge holes that passed all the way through the mountain. I have no idea how or when they were formed, but they were calling to me. Dawn and her siblings had climbed up many times as kids, so she led the way up the rugged trails of loose shale with cactus and rocks and scrub brush all along the way. Twists and turns, places where we had to climb, jump, and squeeze through narrow passages, over and under rocks, until finally we reached the larger of the 2 massive caverns. I felt like an insect standing inside this beautiful natural wonder. The arched ceiling curved powerfully hundreds of feet above me. We explored the cavern, climbing over giant rocks and other fascinating features inside. At the midpoint, I could look out either side of the mountain and see nothing but majestic natural beauty framed by gigantic, limestone oval picture frames. We could have stayed there forever. It was such a magical place. But soon it was time to go. We still had to make our way back down. Once again, Dawn led the way through the mountain to another trail, which would take us down another way. Climbing was difficult and fun, but going down presented a whole new set of challenges. The trail was steep and rocky, so we had to watch every step. A fall would have proved quite dangerous, so the going was slow, even though it was downhill. Being the restless, impatient person that I am, I figured there had to be a better way. At one point, still very high up the mountain, I noticed that off to the right side of the trail was a wide swath of loose limestone shale. That gave me an idea. I wondered if we couldn't actually slide down on this loose rock on our backsides. I had to try it. I told the others and climbed over to the open slope and sat down. I pushed myself forward a few inches. Sure enough, I could slide. "Hey, let's try this," I suggested. I pushed myself a little further. The others joined me, and soon we were carefully sliding down the slope and making great, almost effortless progress, and it was so much fun. I can still recall the smoky smell of the limestone dust as we rode our little controlled avalanche down toward the valley below. There were some places that we got stuck and had to push ourselves forward, but there were other places where we actually couldn't stop and slid out of control for some distance. A few small drop-offs caused me some concern as we bounced down the slope, but we were having a blast. It seemed to be getting steeper, and soon we were going faster and faster. My fun turned to fear as I began to worry for our safety. What had I gotten us into? This was a stupid idea. We had provoked a real rock avalanche and were totally out of control, sliding down with it. There was nothing to grab onto, no way to stop. Down below, I could see what appeared to be a drop-off with nothing visible beyond it. This was bad. I had an idea and yelled to the others, "Roll! Roll to the side!" We all tried to roll on top of the moving rock under us, and by God's grace, we were all able to make it to the edge of the trough and grab onto rocks and vegetation to slow our descent, and finally stop ourselves right at the edge of a vertical drop of hundreds of feet. The avalanche continued to flow past us, dropping rocks and shale down onto piles of rocks below until it slowly stopped. We were wide-eyed as we looked at each other, filthy, coated in dust, scratched and scraped, but alive. We each lay there for a while in silence, just breathing and thinking about what just happened. Finally, we carefully hiked back up to get back to the safety of the trail. We didn't say much the rest of the way down, each of us processing in our own way what transpired on the mountain that day. Personally, I wrestled with deep regret for my own foolishness and how I put us all in mortal danger. We actually never talked about it again or ever told anyone else. But I know none of us will ever forget that thrilling, foolish adventure and God's merciful protection in the Huasteca Canyon in the summer of '84. Do you think I learned my lesson that day? Ha! I have foolishly risked my life many more times since then, opting for unnecessary risk and danger over caution and safety. Why am I like this? I don't know. Some might call it an adrenaline addiction, but inconsiderate foolishness might be more accurate. Thank God that His grace is greater. Thank you so much for listening to this true story from Memoirs of Mexico. If you enjoyed this story, or if it was a blessing to you, please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. That would be a blessing to me. I upload a new true story every day. If you like to read, you can also order Memoirs of Mexico in paperback or ebook on Amazon.com. There's a link in the description. Thanks again for listening.